Yo, what up? We're back with another episode. I thought this series would just be me talking for 200 episodes straight alone, but turns out we already have a guest tonight, and I'm super excited because he makes some of the most exceptional samples out there, and he has landed some amazing placements with huge producers. He has traveled from Vermont to Switzerland to work here, and we got to make some amazing music in the past couple days. I'm really excited to have him on the podcast. My name is Al Hug, and this is Minta Foundry Breakdowns. So first of all, his name is Reske. Reske has worked with artists like Trippie Redd, Young Thug, G-Eazy, and most recently also Vince Staples. He has worked with like crazy producers like Ozzy, Kenny Beats, who he worked with on the Vince Staples album. First of all, hi.
Yes, good to be here, Al. Yeah, it's
good.
You can't see this. The listeners cannot see the immaculate studio with the nice lighting and all this stuff. You should actually you should film at some point if you get more people. It'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. Thank you, first of all. You're kind of my first like bigger guest in here. I built this for a couple weeks and months, and this was kind of a test to see if it works well to also work with other people. And I feel like it worked really well. I feel like we did like some amazing music in here.
It did work well. Yeah. It's put together. It's almost like a museum in here. Like I've got a tape machine on my left and a piano on my right, and I'm just feeling very at home. It's very nice.
Perfect. So this is not a talking podcast. We're going to talk a bit more in the end, but I really want to get into the music. So before you tell us what sample you brought, what it is, how you made it, and all that, let's just listen first. So whenever you're ready, hit play and everybody enjoy.
Of course. Here you go.
Wow, what a composition, man! This is incredible. This is not a sample breakdown episode. This is like a full record composition breakdown episode because there's so many layers. Not only like vertically, but also like, there's like so many sections. So where should we start? Can you give us like some background about like how this was released? Like, just give us some background.
Of course, yeah. We should. I guess I should not kid myself. This is a bit more on the record side, but for me, I see the sample making as maybe a doorway to making records, and to just talk about that a bit. I mean, when producers sample records, they're listening often to full records, and they're finding little snippets of them, like little bits. And I like to try to think about it that way, like playing with that, like hiding things. Maybe you might find a loop or something that you like and push it around a bit.
So do you, when you arrange a sample, you don't necessarily think about the impact the sample has on the producer in the first second, in this first section? Do you more think about it like a whole composition, and you might have the best stuff in the back?
Yes,
Is that a possibility
I think
in your stuff?
In this one, the best stuff is in the back. Actually, like
it kind of
like
is.
The last 5 seconds is what you'd grab. I mean, like.
So this is the last section, and might actually be the one that ends up in the record because it has, from a producer perspective, the best flippable content.
That's right, and it's at the end. Yeah, and I did that for this one because this is the second release I did with Kingsway, and the way it even is uploaded online, it's uploaded as like a full 30-minute experience. So it kind of feels as if it's a record, like it's an album. And I like that, the way that that's uploaded, because, you go on YouTube, right? And there's, 50-minute albums of like just great stuff from, past decades. It's just like full album upload. And it kind of feels that way with Kingsway, where it's just all the songs in a row, right? And so I can imagine you're listening through that and you're kind of tagging like, oh, that's nice, that's nice. And so I think there's more leeway even in that format than if I were sending things explicitly to a producer to say, oh, please take this first 5 seconds, like even a bit of removal allows you to have more fun maybe and play with the format more. But that was very organic. It kind of happened that way. It was a loop at the beginning. I'd say compositionally, it's always a loop that I start with.
Do you remember which of the parts the first part was, and can you play it for us?
Yes. I made this on the blooper. And that was unusual. The process for the Kingsway, that whole thing is I composed a lot of it in a very particular style and a very particular process. And it started feeling kind of samey to me after a while, that process, because I just kind of knew where it was going to take me. And this one was one I made on the blooper, and it felt very immediate. And that's just me singing with a Wurlitzer, I think. So it's like Wurlitzer and vocals stacked on the blooper. So that's still the loop. So it's like as I'm building the loop, I've got like it's like a 7-minute file. It's like,
oh wow,
it's a whole thing.
So is this just one mic?
Yeah, this is just one mic with the Wurlitzer and the vocals, and I'm just recording it in and messing with it, because blooper you can change the pitch, you can speed it up, you can do all sorts of things. And I was doing a lot of like shouty kind of gang vocals on it too. This is where I realized like, oh, I have something, and I should probably record every layer, because blooper's got a bunch of layers, and you can kind of wind back time with it. So you started with maybe just the Wurlitzer and the vocals. So I thought I'd get that, and then I'd grab the whole thing as it happened. When I made that, I was like, that's a record right there. Like I like that, but it needed a lot of massaging in order to fit, if that makes sense.
It does. So you had this kind of jam that you then cut up into pieces. You took like one loop of it, or did you use several parts of it?
I think I ended up using all of it somewhere in there. That took a lot of trickery to get it like on the grid, like you can hear. And there were like a lot of things in there that just didn't sit right with me. So I had to spend a lot of time massaging it to fit. And I think it was February February of last year I made that loop. And it was sitting in my head like how I wanted to do it for like 4 months. And I just never sat down to do it. And that's true of so many ideas. You kind of are ruminating on it. You're thinking about how you would do it. And I heard this like very big kind of grand, old sound to it, timpanis and horns maybe, and but it's just me at the time. So I thought, well, I've just got to do this one right. So it took me like 3 months of sitting on it before I thought, oh, I'll get down to it.
So you had this jam session, and then you made it into a loop, and then it was sitting for 4 months.
Yes.
And then you started to make it into this bigger composition.
Oh, I was always sure that it would make it onto the Kingsway thing because something about it just sounded so Kingsway to me, and I liked playing with that.
So there was a bigger vision in this, and you kind of had to put in all the work to get there.
Yes. And I like these very like raw recordings that way because your brain is just really turned on to the sounds that could be there in the record that you need to uncover maybe.
This is something I get asked a lot about, like, how do you come up with the melodies, all the harmonies and the additional melodies and the rhythms and everything? And the best answer I can give is kind of from consuming so much music and making so much music, my brain automatically tries to fill in stuff.
Yes.
So when I hear something that has space, my brain's like just starts filling in things.
Yes.
So let's get into some of the stems.
Yes.
Where did you get this sound from?
The clarinet is s01e clarinets. This is amazing. It's all physical model. It's not sample based. The only thing that's sample based about it is there's some breath noises in it, but otherwise it's like a playable way to interact with these sounds. And
I see.
It's very intuitive actually when you have like the foot controller and stuff like that. These are not very good examples of what it can do, but but it's really nice to play with.
Can you show me the percussions? I'm like a huge percussion fan, and I know you are too.
Oh yeah,
but our percussions are so different. Mm-hmm. So I'm very curious to hear the stems isolated.
Yes. I should learn a thing or two from you actually. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this room I'm seeing that's exciting.
I can hear brushes.
Yep.
Was it a snare or was it a snare?
Yep.
Have you ever tried recording brushes like on other surfaces?
Yes, I have. Like brushes on a blanket, brushes on tinfoil I've done before too.
That's nice, yeah.
Things like that.
Cardboard sounds very good.
Oh, I've actually done that, yeah.
Actually, I've learned that from a friend of mine who's a drummer. Well, it's actually, you met him, Valentin.
Valentin, yeah.
I had a studio session with him, and then I was like, oh, I have a drummer here, so he should like do the brushes. Also, he has like the whole technique thing. When I do it, it's just like very random. I'm just like trying to get the sound. He has this whole like brushing technique. And to my surprise, it was like, let's not use the snare drum. I have this, like, let's use the cardboard. And it was just cardboard standing around.
Yes.
So we used that, and it sounded amazing.
It's like percussion is as a discipline, it's so experimental. They're just thinking about what else they can hit at all times. They walk in a room, and they're like, I could hit that.
Yeah. We talked about this the other day when I showed you Andy Pupato's work, who's kind of my percussion mentor, you could say. He has this whole percussion live setup, and about like 90% of his instruments are either built by him or modified to sound like exactly like how he needs them. So I mean, there's no rules to music, but there's definitely no rules to percussions. Yes. And there's so many easy things you can try out. For example, if you have shakers, like just holding them in the same hand and playing them at the same time changes the whole thing instead of like just playing one. So you can kind of create these hybrid percussion sounds, or have bells and the shaker in one hand, for example, or hit something with a shaker and bell in your hand, hit a drum, for example. So you get all these kind of polypercussive sounds that have different textures to it. So there might be a bling, but also a ch and a boom, and all at the same time, you know?
Right. My favorite thing is I have a little basket of percussion, and I just grab stuff in my hands at random and just am like, okay, that's the 2 and 4, you know. Just
I like that.
Whatever it is. There
I
could be
like
some
that.
recorders in my hands. Or
Amazing.
Just things that aren't supposed to be percussive, right?
Oh, also I can hear some bells on there, which is
glockenspiel,
interesting. You have it in the percussion stem. Is this all in one stem?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So you have the tuned and the untuned percussion all in one stem.
Yes, I could do it differently. These are the Kingsway stems, and I love giving people a lot to play with, but never too much, because it's creatively very fun, I think, to like go, oh, what about that? You know, like you have to use that. Some misdirection is nice. You don't always want the cleanest, most isolated sound all the time.
It's challenging, and I think it's important for us to not prepare everything on like a plate. You know, for everybody. It's like you need to work with this. So from time to time, send out a sample without BPM. From time to time, send out the sample with a very weird arrangement, for example, a very short sample, a very long sample. Try to challenge people, because then when people download your stuff, they're going to be super interested to hear what's in there this time. You know, like every pack becomes this kind of treasure chest of surprises, you know. So the original loop you used already had vocals on there, but then you added more vocals, right?
Yes. That is because often I want to fill something out. I want the vocals to act as like a part in the arrangement. And also different mics have different color to them, but also different ways you perceive them as close versus far away. I've been experimenting a lot with that recently, where a tube mic, for example, is everywhere. It's a huge sound, but it's kind of like floating in the whole space sonically. And a dynamic mic is right in front of your face, oftentimes. So these are SM7 recordings. And I like to just combine those techniques. So maybe if I'm recording a close mic in addition to a really big boomy mic in the center, or just kind of mixing those up a bit so that you get something different. Like the sample, I think on Blooper it was all on the tube mic.
I feel like at this moment, the record really goes somewhere. It kind of opens up into almost a song.
Yes.
Because there's lyrics, right?
Yes,
or some sort of lyrics.
Yeah.
When it sounds like there's lyrics, are there lyrics?
There are always lyrics.
Cool.
Yes. My process is very subconscious based. The words often are not written down until maybe later. But everything for Kingsway, I try to have some lyrics.
Yes. It changes a lot. Like having vocals with just vowels compared to vocals with lyrics, it speaks to us differently.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So play us that part where the composition kind of opens up into a song.
Yes.
Play the whole thing. I love this part because the way you arranged it, you kind of made space for an important part. You create this whole new space and then bring in the new thing, you know? You kind of introduce something new. So you want to create a space where there's actually a place to hear it, you know?
Oh, yes.
I feel like sometimes when I hear this a lot in like people's music, when they introduce something interesting or important, they try to push it with more bass and, you know, make it more impressive, but actually removing a bunch of stuff and exposing that new thing gives it more space to shine, you know?
Yeah, that's how most music works. There's peaks and valleys of emotion. There's anticipation. You kind of get some built-up anticipation listening to that. You're like, what's coming next? If you pull things out, you're like, where are we going? And then we hit our stride with the next section where it's like kind of all in.
And then we get into the loop.
Yes, exactly. Oh, there is one other thing I just remembered, which is that everything is one semitone up. Is that at the very last minute I thought it just sounds more exciting, one semitone up. And I do that all the time. And it's funny, I thought I was weird to do this. And then I've met a lot of sample makers and producers more generally who do this now, who are like putting sound shifter on the master. I stick it on the master.
Is that what you did on this sample?
This one, because there are stems, you have to be a little more clever with it.
Right.
So you can either do 10 sound shifters, which sounds bad, sounds like a bad idea, but it actually sounds... To me, it sounds better than a sound shifter on the master, which is funny. There's a great smeary kind of sound when you put a pitch shifter on the master. I think that's great. To me, it sounds like a record. It's like smushed, kind of like the way compressors smush things.
Yeah. I think we got a ton of gems from listening to the sample, the stems, and the discussion we had. I think we have to do like a second volume to this. Not in the next episode, but like maybe like, you know, in a couple months when you're back or when I'm in Vermont or maybe we meet in LA or wherever.
I will return to this podcast. We just don't know what time. It will be a mystery to all of us.
Perfect. If y'all want to like learn more from Reske, I think following his Twitch is gonna teach you so much. If you want to like engage with his community, the Discord is a perfect place.
Yes.
You have this Twitch where you show your process, and then you have the Discord where you discuss the process. People have questions, you jump in there, clarify some stuff, also ask questions, and it's just a very, very interesting place to be. It's a not busy Discord, which makes it a good place to hang out.
Yes.
I find most Discords to be very overwhelming, and yours is not, so I really appreciate that about your Discord.
High quality to quantity of messages sent.
Yes.
At least for now. I don't know how to continue that. As time goes on, they get larger. But I've been so amazed by not just listening to the music of the people in Discord. That's motivating in itself. But the music they recommend and the things that they are turned on to, it's amazing for me to see. So I would definitely recommend it.
Also, something that I found very interesting that you told me is that whenever you release a song with a sample from yours, then you upload that sample to SoundCloud. Is that correct?
Yes, if it gets placed somewhere, I'll put it on SoundCloud, and I just put it up there. I was concerned at first that someone would get upset with me for doing this, like as part of the artist team or the label, perhaps. But they have no problems with it. So
good.
At least they haven't, come knocking at my door for a copyright strike for a sample that I made. But
so it's perfect if you want to like listen.
Very funny if that happens.
Yeah. So if you want to listen to the isolated like sample from, I don't know, the Vince Staples song or the Young Thug that recently released, just go there and you can learn a lot from just listening to the sample,
Yes.
And also, if you're like interested in listening to the stems for the sample, there is a stems version of this pack on Kingsway, right?
Yes, that's right. That's right. And I like that, and I'll do more stem stuff in the future because I think that's illuminating too.
Yeah, make sure to follow Reske on all the channels. I think you're a bit less on Instagram than most producers.
Hopefully,
But that's a good thing.
Less and less as time goes on.
Yes. So I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yes.
Reske, thank you so much, not only for being on this podcast, but for traveling over here and for all the jam sessions that we had, for all the work that we did and everything. It has been super inspiring week for me. So thank you.
It was absolutely my pleasure. Alhug, look him up. He's got the best studio in Zurich, as far as I know. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Likewise, extremely inspiring.
I don't know when the next episode is going to happen, but I know that I want to continue this because it's very interesting to me to talk about the music, not only make it, but also talk about it. I'm really excited to see where this all goes, and see you soon.